Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So glad to have you here like always. In today's video, we're going to be continuing the series of baby birds in the nest from the time that they hatch until they fledge. Now, if you're new to the channel, this is a series that I created a while back where I show you a variety of different species in the nest from when they hatch until they fledge, and I give you and show you the developing stages of each one of these species so that you have a better understanding of what they're supposed to look like during different stages of their life. So in case you're working with some of these species, you can have a better understanding of their development. Now, we also go over a variety of different things like some breeding tips, also problems that you may face while breeding this species, along with when to ban the chicks and if they're compatible with society finches in case that the parents toss and you have to go ahead and foster. So today we're going to be taking a look at the Dybowski Twinspots. This is a brand new species that I brought into the aviary last year, and I started to work with them, and so far we've had some good success with this species. Out of all the Twinspots, they are one of the easiest ones to breed in captivity, but that doesn't mean that they are very easy at all. Although they're one of the easiest within that family of the Twinspots, they are still a very hard species to breed if you don't give them the proper nutrition and the requirements that they need to do so. And one of the biggest things that you need for these birds is space. And in order to give them the right space, what I have done is that I have combined two cages together to convert it into a small flight. And these cages originally are 32 by 18 by 18, and when I put two of them together, they're almost 5 feet, or a little bit over 5 feet actually long, and it makes the perfect enclosure for this species where they feel like they have enough room and they feel secure enough to actually nest for me and take care of the chicks. Now, some of them have been very picky when it comes time to take care of their chicks. Although they have been very willing to build their nest, they've been willing to lay eggs. I have 6 pairs, and out of the 6 pairs, I've had 2 of them which do not want to take care of the chicks at all, and I've had to actually foster these birds underneath societies because they've tossed them out. Now, if you've ever had tossed chicks, you always run into that scenario where you don't know exactly what to do. Do you grab the chicks and place them back into the nest, or do you grab them and foster them? And this is a very risky situation because if you make the wrong decision, most times you will end up losing the chicks. And what I've found over the years in my personal experience is that if I place them back into the nest of the original pair, most often than not, the males will retoss the chicks again. And by the time that I find the chicks, it's a little bit too late. So anytime that I find chicks on the ground that have been tossed, if they're still alive, I grab them and I foster them underneath societies. And this species is very good when it comes to that. The societies will take care of them, but they do come with a bit of problems when you do this. If you've been keeping up with the videos that I post, you've noticed that one of the recent videos that I posted a while back was about how I had some problems while fostering this species underneath societies because of their coloration. Now, when it comes to color, these chicks are not very light in color. They're actually extremely dark. So this is something that can cause a bit of confusion for your societies, and they may not be willing to feed for the first couple of days. So in that video, I went on to explain how for the first 4 days, I have to hand feed a bit, not all the time. You leave the chicks underneath the societies, they keep them warm, and what you do is occasionally during the day, you feed these chicks at least 2 or 3 times so that they are able to stay alive. By day 4, the societies will accept these chicks and they will start to feed them. And this is a hurdle that we have to go over. Unfortunately, this is something that can happen sometimes. Societies, although they're worth their weight in gold and they're very valuable and very good at taking care of a variety of finch species, sometimes they may struggle with certain species, and this is one of the ones that they struggle with. Now, don't get me wrong, all societies are not the same. I have some that will take care of these chicks from day 1, but there are those who don't. So you always have to keep an eye on them. Just because you grab chicks and throw them underneath societies doesn't mean that they're going to be safe. Now, I've heard a variety of different opinions from a variety of different breeders as far as what they like to use and what works for them. And some say that they prefer to use albino societies because their eyesight is so poor that they are unable to see how dark these chicks really are, and they take great care of them. while others say that they prefer to use societies that are virgins or societies that have never raised any chicks. And the reasoning behind this is if they've never raised a chick and they have no idea what the chicks are supposed to look like, then they are more likely to accept these chicks that are much darker. You have to understand that society chicks are very light in color, like the majority of other Australian species. This is why societies have always been great foster parents for Australian species, because the majority of those are very light in color. But once we start getting into African species like the Dybowskis or the Petilias, for example, these chicks are very dark in color, and getting the societies to sometimes accept them could be a challenge. So if you're having trouble with that, give these two options a try. Either use societies that have never raised chicks in the past, or try to get a pair of albino societies, and these will have a much harder time seeing the chicks, seeing their dark coloration, and they're more likely to accept them. Personally, what I like to use are societies that have never raised any chicks in the past. This has always been the go-to option for me. Now, don't get it wrong, you may still encounter some problems with these societies since they've never raised chicks of their own. And some of the problems that you may have is that unfortunately societies at times can be a bit clumsy, just like any other first-time parent pair. Since it's their first time, you run the possibility of having them either squash some of the chicks or not feed them properly, so you always have to keep an eye on them to make sure that they are doing the job correctly. Guys, now keep in mind also that society finches are more prone to protozoa infections, and they may carry diseases that also affect these African species. So while using them as foster parents, you want to make sure that you medicate them with the proper medications in order to avoid any of these transfer of diseases from the foster parents over to the chicks that you are fostering. And one of the main medications that I like to give while I have these chicks in the nest and after they fledge is Ronix. And Ronix is specifically designed to treat and not cure, because it is uncurable, but to treat protozoa infections or cankers in these finches. And this is something that helps them so that you don't end up losing any of these chicks. And I plan on making a more extensive video on this subject, showing you guys exactly how it is that I mix the Ronix, when exactly I give it to them, in order to avoid losing any of these chicks later on due to any infection that they may get from the society finches. And you're probably wondering, well, why are your society finches infected, or what is it that they have? You have to understand that protozoa infections are non-curable. This is something that the birds get, and most of the birds have this. And one of the problems is that it flares up from time to time when the birds get stressed, and most of these birds, as you know, get stressed while they're breeding. And this is something that they can pass on to the chicks. So Ronix, what it does is that it doesn't cure the problem, but it does keep it under control. And this is something that helps you so you don't lose any of these chicks once they fledge. Alright guys, well this is going to be the end of another video. I really hope that this video was helpful for you guys if you are working with this species, or if you've been thinking about working with this species. Hopefully these tips can guide you in the right direction. Like always, if you've enjoyed the video, make sure to hit the like button. Also consider subscribing if you haven't done so already, as this shows me your support and it continues to motivate me to make more videos like this for you guys. I hope that you all have a wonderful day, and we will see each other in the next video.